Silas, that same brother I met before we got to be Muslim, he had a meeting with Elijah Muhammad, and he invited me to go along. When he took me there, Elijah Muhammad didn't invite me, so he was admonished for that very, very severely. I could have left because it was just so severe, but anyway. Somehow, he took a liking to me because I wrote him after that. That was my first encounter with him.
We're talking Elijah Muhammad.
Elijah Muhammad. And I wrote him a letter. I told him I would like to help and be a laborer and be a minister. And he wrote me back and he said to me, don't tell me that you would like to help me fish the dead. Go out and find one and come back and I'll tell you you're worthy to be a minister. And I wrote him back and I asked him where he suggested I go.
OG, two letters that define respect. I created the Original OGs to document the forgotten parts of American history. I want to recognize and give a voice to the men and women that have climbed to the top of their game. The men and women this marquee have been authenticated as original OGs. Welcome to my world, a world of the originals, the unique. Welcome to the Original OGs. What is the importance of being Black and finding Black power? What was important to you about that?
When I read the book that J.A. Rogers was writing, it took me to all of the history that I had never read about. The histories of Black people and what they had created and what they had done gave me a sense of pride. I ended up in that study in 1952. I ended up in Oakland, California.
Okay.
And that's where I really became acquainted with Black Power through Huey Newton and that manner when they went into militant form of carrying guns onto the
demanding
by force. And that made me a sense of pride. And then I heard in 52, I heard this guy called Malcolm X. And I started listening to him. And what really, really gave me the depths of the study of Malcolm X is when I heard a song, "A Black Man's Heaven is a White Man's Hell." And I became intense with that.
Had you gained interest in this Malcolm X?
Yes.
Okay, so how does that take place? And who introduces you to that?
I was trying to find out where did he come from and how, I started studying his history, found out about his brother, his mother, and those kind of things. And it led me to Elijah Muhammad.
Okay.
And then I began to, when I ran into the white man's heaven and black man's hell, it was Lewis Walcott. It's so much history between that time of 1955, 57, 56, 58, when I met Silas.
Back to the Malcolm X, then search out Malcolm X. Does that lead you to one of the temples?
No, I moved in an apartment around the corner from the mosque on Broadway. And that's where I began to study the brothers who would come to my house selling papers. And that's when I became intense with it. April 27, 1962 is when I gave my life to Black Power.
Now you become active in Black Power.
Not involved with any group.
Exactly.
Right. Well, I had married, and the reason my wife left me is because I had become so indulged in black power and so influenced with Muslims until I came home and I threw all the pork out. I guess her being a Christian just couldn't understand. So see, I didn't accept the Nation of Islam because of Allah, of religion.
Right.
I accepted the Nation of Islam when I heard Malcolm X say the white man was the devil.
Okay.
That's what brought me in.
Interesting.
I knew that to be a fact.
That hit home with you.
No doubt about it.
Okie dokie.
I learned about Allah and God and all of that
Later.
after I came in. But
Right.
my reason for coming in was
Seen a lot of devils in Mississippi.
I didn't see nothing but devils.
Okie dokie.
But anyway, when I came, and the same thing in St. Louis.
Exactly.
So when I got to California, I saw the operation of devils. So when I came in, I was so disappointed in the life I had already lived that I found this and still find it to be the best life I could have given my life to. I was a part of the start of the riots that went through the country in that, you know.
Okay, so the Nation of Islam is not at its height at this time.
I think the Nation of Islam was at its height under a man named Edward 2X.
In Los Angeles.
Captain Edward 2X in Los Angeles, and John Shabazz. When the secretary of that mosque was killed,
exactly,
everything in America changed. Riots broke out and spread all through the country.
Because the nation had the power to put the message out there.
Well, we did. I don't know about the nation, but we did.
Okay. The white man is the devil. How do you process that, and what was the understanding of that in the Nation of Islam?
There was no doubt the white man was the devil for me, because everything that I experienced in Mississippi made me know he had no reason to treat me like he treated me. I saw people being lynched. You know, I don't even like to talk about it.
Right.
That's how much I feel about the condition and purposely what white people did angers me.
We're in the 50s, and if you weren't there, perhaps you can engage in the story so that you can understand what black people are really thinking about their condition. And here comes a guy, a gentleman, Malcolm X, representing the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and he's calling the white man the devil.
When I say the white man is the devil, I mean it by my experience, not by my belief. It could have been a black man doing this to me, and I would have called him the devil. But it's so white, the white man's done all of my life. And it does not mean he's doing it because of a color. It means because of a nature. It's his nature. I don't think he can help himself. I really don't. And I'm able to discern a devil, whether it's black or white, by the very nature in which he operates. I have seen some black devils in my life.
Yes, sir.
That's equal to the devils by nature.
Yes, sir.
So I don't want the color to be the differentialness of your decision of how you decide something. It is the very nature. I learned this in Islam, the difference of what a devil really is. The clarity that I got from Elijah Muhammad on this concept of devils.
Yes.
All white folks, as white folks in Mississippi.
Hey, that's what we talking about.
Whether they had hoods on or hoods off.
They still had that same
what they required of a black man didn't need a hood on.
Exactly.
Matter of fact, I saw lynchings. I didn't see
with no hoods.
Wasn't no hoods. The lynchings I witnessed wasn't no hoods, you know. But I say this to you on that topic, that I'm leaving the devil alone.
Right.
If the white man is not the devil, he's mine until you bring me one. Bring me one equal to what he has already done. Not what you believe he did accidentally. What he has already done to me, you, and to themselves, and to the whole world. You can't find nobody has did more evil than him. So until you tell me somebody that did more evil than the white man, he'll always be my devil.
You become active.
Yes.
Is that a good word?
Yes.
In the Nation of Islam?
Yes.
Under who?
Edward Sherrill, John Shabazz, Secretary John 12X. And they were the immediate officials of Temple number 27. And Temple number 27 was under the control of Chicago headquarters headed by Elijah Muhammad.
Specifically?
Specifically. Me personally. Silas, that same brother I met before we got to be Muslim, he had a meeting with Elijah Muhammad, and he invited me to go along. When he took me there, Elijah Muhammad didn't invite me, so he was admonished for that very, very severely. I could have left because it was just so severe, but anyway, somehow he took a liking to me because I wrote him after that. That was my first encounter with him.
We're talking Elijah Muhammad.
Elijah Muhammad. And I wrote him a letter. I told him I would like to help and be a laborer and be a minister. And he wrote me back and he said to me, don't tell me that you would like to help me fish the dead. Go out and find one and come back and I'll tell you you're worthy to be a minister. And I wrote him back and I asked him where he suggested I go. And he suggested Santa Barbara. And I had questions about that, but I didn't question him. My question was, why Santa Barbara when there are no black folks in Santa Barbara? I go to Chicago, and Elijah Muhammad sends me to Akron, Ohio.
Okay.
And in sending me, it was no minister there, but it was a mosque there, mosque number 37. He sent me there, and he gave me instruction to reopen Youngstown, mosque number 9, and to take over and reestablish 43 in Columbus, Ohio.
Wow.
And I did that. And I was there for about 3-4 years. One day, he called me. I got charged with the minister. His name was Theodore Hamza, minister in Cleveland. Told Elijah Muhammad that I was teaching he was God. And Elijah Muhammad called me in and told me that I was a disgrace to him teaching he was God, and then sent me back to the place he told me I was a disgrace from. And I went there for about 4 months. Then he called me back and made me his captain. And when he made me his captain, he never said it personally. I said it personal, because Elijah Muhammad was the captain of all FOI, and Raymond Muhammad was the captain of all nation, and Silas Muhammad was the captain of the papers. And so it left me simply to be the captain with no post.
Right.
So the only instructions I got came from him.
Right.
And my first instruction, my first order from him directly is when he sent me to Newark, New Jersey to investigate the murder of Minister James, which is called the Thunder. And I did that, and I was his captain up until he died.
You become the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's personal captain. What type of gentleman this was?
A vast way of describing him, and everything I've heard over these years have been fractionalized. Everybody gives their opinion.
And that's why I need you
I share with you my experience with no opinion.
Yes, I need that.
And what I share with you is a man, a human being, male. Simple that. And a man that's so powerful, the schools and education of America is not equivalent, nor do they have the knowledge to provide the understanding that he shared with me.
Yes, sir.
And what he shared with me was nothing more than he had shared with the whole earth. But I gave myself to him to understand.
Mm-hmm.
So when I described this, he was a little bitty man. He was an uneducated man. He was something less than a man before he changed his own life around and identified the change by recognizing something in another man that another man had never told nobody. And with this uneducated man seeing something in another man that gave him power, and he identified the man as his God. And I accepted that for
sir.
him.
Mm-hmm.
And he became that as a transitional move for me to strengthen my life.
Yes, sir.
And I was blessed to serve him in his private life. And I don't think that's worthy of any value that I should even discuss.
Yes, sir.
I'm ready to defend him
At
if it's
any
necessary.
moment. Oh, yes, sir.
At any moment, in any form.
That's quite heavy. That's a very, very powerful position.
I take pride in it.
You say you didn't join per se for the religious belief, but for the discipline of a thing.
Right.
That takes me to the FOI. The discipline of this concept, would you say, was inside the FOI?
Yes.
And that was a large part of you.
That's what made me what I am.
Explore that for me, please.
My concept is the religion of Islam is one thing. The Lost Foundation of Islam is another. And when you combine these two, you have MGT and FOI. When you combine those two, any combination that's combined must be separated to mature.
Mm-hmm.
So when you separate MGT, FOI, the women matures, the men mature. If you separate the Lost Foundation of Islam from the Nation of Islam, that each one can grow in itself.
Mm-hmm.
The Nation of Islam is really not a religion. The Lost Foundation of Islam is religious.
Okay.
But now it's when you reverse them in interpretation, the Nation of Islam depends more on religious factors, and the Lost Foundation of Islam depend on more realistic factors.
Mm-hmm.
But it should be the reversal. So the Lost Found indicates religious, how you're found. The Nation of Islam indicates reality. It's a nation. So when you separate those two elements, I came in with a desire and drive to find a nation.
Right.
You know, that's what drove me, is to belong to a nation. Mm-hmm. And I didn't use lost found. You know, that's something you use when you lost, and you describe how you found. But after that process is done, the nation begins to form, and that constitutes organizational form.
Right.
And
discipline.
Right, and that's where the discipline come in. You can't have discipline and have a. You can't have no discipline and have a nation.
Right.
Impossible. To have a nation, you have discipline.
Must have discipline.
You don't need discipline to be religious.
Right. Exactly.
So when you speak of discipline, you speak of nation. That nationalist is discipline.
What did the training of the FOI give you?
The training, you have to look at a military concept when you look at the training, because that was the origin of the training. Mm-hmm. And that's why Captain Everett Sherrill on number 27 and Joseph in New York, and the captain, their ability in the military training, that's the whole purpose of it, is to force you into discipline. It trains you to be disciplined. But the black man has a natural form of discipline. So it's easy for him to adapt to that. Mm-hmm. White people have to be taught that. You don't have to go to the army to be militant.
Okay.
All you got to do is look at the Lost Foundation of Islam.
Right.
Look at any FOI, but follow any group, and you'll see some form of discipline. That's the separation that I admire America finding a decision to separate religion and government. They know that there's a factor there that has to be separated.
Right.
Because you can't have a preacher telling you it's time for war, and there's nothing to justify it.
Right.
It's a factor there. There's some point that you have to put religion where it's supposed to be and put nation where it's supposed to be. It's called brotherhood. And that's the first principle that Elijah Muhammad taught me. The first thing he said, not pray, he said the first thing you got to do is be a brother. That's your first principle.
Wow.
Is to be a brother.
And that's something that we
have. That's the only thing that when you look at Muslim, what they see is a brotherhood. No matter which way you look at it, when you see a group of black men together for one common cause, even if they acted, they look like they put one common cause. Even that alone. I'm my own as I am, and you should be the same.
Exactly.
You shouldn't be nobody else as I am. That's what's killing us.
Then we are.
But if we are all I am.
Exactly.
And that's what the brotherhood, that's what's missing in the streets. They don't understand that because they haven't seen it. They haven't seen it. Once they see it, it generates.
Right.
Like that brother I was telling you about, Silas Bell.
Yes.
He and I, we just different as night and day. And we've been together for almost 75 years, just damn near. And we go two different ways, but never separate.
Right.
Because we're brothers. You
Right.
know, he's a leader, tried to make me part of that, and I respect him, try to support it, but that ain't me.
Right.
But don't mean we're enemies.
Oh, by no means.
But you have, that's the key. The boys in the street, if you ain't doing exactly what I'm doing, you ain't right.
We need brotherhood. It's hard. You can't have brotherhood if we're murdering each other. This conversation with this gentleman is so very important. The information that you've received here, we really hope you enjoyed us. I enjoyed my friend here. Subscribe to us, follow us, and thank you, sir. This is what we consider to be a triple OG. Thank you.
I like that.
That's it. That's all. If you live in a city, any city, big or small, and you would like for Mr. Rick to come to your town, get as many subscribers as you can in your town, go in the comments. Let me know who your OGs are. They could be men or ladies. Doesn't matter. As long as they have a great history, whoever has the most subscribers, I will interview them. We won't pick them. You will pick them. So we'd like to tell those stories. Let me know why Mr. Rick should come to your city and interview the OG ladies and the OG gentlemen. That's it. That's all.